This is a drill that can go in to slow you down as the kettlebell changes position. The lever away from your body changes position, and it's an easy way to help people get lower and lower and lower in the squat. When you do the curl, the weight changes how far away it is from your center of mass. That affects how your hip joint is being loaded. That affects how your core is firing. This video is part of a big series of videos meant to be watched in order so people can learn the most important things about kettlebell training in some basic logical order for free. Squat depth is very, very important to your overall mobility, and everybody should be very good at it, regardless of what sport they play, regardless of whether or not they actually play a sport at all. For people's general health and well-being, getting a lower squat is a good idea. Improving squat depth helps people mobilize their back, mobilize their hip. It removes pain. Working on improving the depth of your squat and improving your core firing in that position will solve a bunch of problems on accident. Kettlebells are really good at getting people to do the 6 most basic things that everybody should work on in order to build a foundation for health and fitness. A swing, deadlift analog, a clean, getting weight to shoulder height, a snatch, getting weight to overhead in one smooth movement, a press to overhead lockout, human stand up, you should be good at standing up and pressing, a get up off of the ground, and a squat. The first squat that we work on with kettlebells is called a bottoms up goblet squat because it helps people learn to dip their tailbone down and verticalize their spine more. Let's review that quickly. Step up to your kettlebell, 2 feet point straight ahead because that's the way we walk. Kettlebell squats are intermediate weights, so we can do a lot of the squatting technique with our feet shoulder width apart and our feet pointed straight ahead. That's different from things like super heavy back squats where there's a different technique. Thumbs point towards the sky, thumbs point forward. Pick up the bell, heavy part on top. Arm is at a 90-degree angle. Sit down, down, down. Elbows go inside the knee. Lean back away from the kettlebell. By holding the kettlebell in this position, you can use it as a counterbalance, and people can work on improving their squat depth. Elbow position for this is key. It is at the top of the knee. It is not down below the knee. Elbows high, verticalize the spine by leaning back against the kettlebell, lift the chest towards the sky, eyes look straight ahead. Stand all the way up, straight legs, squeeze glutes, drive the rib cage down. All the way down, lean back, stand all the way up. Straight, tight, solid. Sit down, lean back, stand all the way up. We learn this bottoms up, heavy part up squat first because it helps people learn to get down. Oftentimes, people need another drill to help them get down to their low depth. Everybody can improve their squat depth, so we're going to add one thing to this exercise in order to make it a mobility drill, not just a conditioning drill. Step up to your kettlebell, 2 feet point straight ahead because that's the way humans walk. Feet shoulder width apart because it's an intermediate weight. Thumbs point towards the sky, thumbs point forward. Get down. Pick up your bell, heavy part on top, arm at a 90-degree angle. Get down. Oftentimes you'll see people keep their tailbone high during this exercise, so we need to add a drill to help them get lower. We're going to have them sit down as low as they can, straighten their arms out, touch the kettlebell to the ground, then perform a bicep curl in this position. Stand all the way up to reload. Straight legs, squeeze the glutes as hard as you can, drive the rib cage down. Get down, elbows in the correct spot. Straighten the arms out, lean back, back, back against the weight. Curl up, arm parallel to the ground. Stand all the way up. Squeeze the quads, pull the kneecap up, squeeze the glutes, drive the rib cage down. Get down, lean back against the weight. Arms are perfectly straight here. Elbows locked. Lean back as far as you can. Curl up. When you do that curl up, you will notice your body will shift. That is the point of the exercise. Stand all the way up. Get down, elbows in the correct spot. Kettlebell down, lean back, back, back against the bell. When you curl, your hips will shift. That's the point. Stand all the way up. Squeeze your quads, squeeze your glutes, drive your rib cage down. Straight arms, set the kettlebell down directly between your feet. You should notice your feet should generally be in the same spot at the end of the exercise, but when you are new to this, they may turn out, they may shift, they may move around. This is a simple drill. We're taking a simple kettlebell squat, the bottoms up squat, and we are putting our arm at 90 degrees. This is a drill that can go in to slow you down as the kettlebell changes position. The lever away from your body changes position, and it's an easy way to help people get lower and lower and lower in the squat. When you do the curl, the weight changes how far away it is from your center of mass. That affects how your hip joint is being loaded. That affects how your core is firing. Anybody can use this exercise to get their squat lower. We use a kettlebell to help us learn to do squats better. That affects both our heavy squat technique and our body weight squat technique. It makes us more efficient. Efficiency is the point of training. Oftentimes when people work out with conventional training programs, they never fully build get-ups. They do sit-ups or they do some version of abs on the ground, but abs on the ground is always supposed to be part of getting up off of the ground. A crunch is a version of a sit-up is half of a get-up. The kettlebell get-up helps people eventually drag themselves to their feet so that they can get up in a couple of different ways. This is part of a deck squat and a no momentum deck squat, or getting up with your back starting flat on the ground. We usually get down to the ground by putting one knee all the way down on the ground. Find the ground with your hand. Sit all the way down, avoiding all dogs and or small children. Sit down flat on the ground, 2 sits bones on the ground. Draw your feet up close to your body. Rolling a kettlebell into position is usually a good way to get it there if something was in your way when you got down to the ground. The kettlebell should start generally between your ankles. When we pick the weight up, our thumbs will point towards the sky, reach down, tip the kettlebell towards you, and put the heavy part of the kettlebell on top. In previous videos, we had worked on the pullover, or part of the pullover sit-up. Let's review that quickly, and then we'll add in the sit-up. Get down to the ground, drift back, lower back touches the ground first. Kettlebell goes back directly behind your head. Elbows together, pull over, flat back pull over. You are resisting, lifting your rib cage up and letting there be a gap between your lower back and the floor. Lower back is on the ground the entire time. Let's add a step to that. Flat back pull over sit up. Engage the abs, drive the rib cage down, pull over, sit up. The kettlebell will actually help you do the sit-up. At the top, extend your spine, get as tall as possible. When you get down, round the spine, get closer to the ground, elbow towards hip bone. Go down, do not let your head touch the ground, keep your core engaged. Pull over sit-up, extend. Flex the spine to go down, get down, pull over sit-up, extend. Get back, pull over sit-up, and extend. When you have completed your reps, you should be able to set the kettlebell down in front of you and stand it all the way back up. You see this exercise a lot in things like CrossFit. It tends to be done with a plate, an Olympic plate, instead of with a kettlebell. Kettlebells tend to cause people to have good technique on accident because when you flip the kettlebell over, it is a lever. From the top of your hand to the top of the bell, we have about 7 inches, but the weight is not in the center of your hand like it is with a plate. So if you end up in the wrong spot, the kettlebell tends to let you know because it becomes hard to hold. Kettlebell too far out, kettlebell too far back, kettlebell just right. The other exercises in this series are the flat back pullover, just the bottom, where you're essentially holding a crunch and the weight is moving. Then this, the flat back pullover sit up, that lean back press, and then we will build up and up and up with this exercise until you are getting all the way up off of the ground. Getting up off of the ground is a basic human skill. You should practice it 2 times a week for the rest of your life in some way. There are about 9 basic get-ups that you should be really good at. The Turkish get-up, getting up with a weight overhead, the deck squat, the no momentum deck squat, and then a bunch of versions of rotating get-ups. Burpees are a get-up, side set throughs are a get-up, there are judo get-ups, there are Krav get-ups, there are tons of get-ups. You could build an entire fitness program just off of breaking get-ups down into small pieces and practicing all of those pieces individually, starting with light weights and building to heavy weights. When you lose an ability to get up off of the ground quickly and effectively, you're essentially in the aging process and your quality of life is probably going downhill. By maintaining an ability to get up off of the ground quickly and efficiently forever, you are making everything about your life better. Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to do a kettlebell drill to improve squat depth. Kettlebells are the simplest, easiest, cheapest, most portable way for athletes to work on their basics of athleticism. Kettlebells can be done in any environment, so you can work on your fundamental 6 training movements out in the real world. Focus on your swing, a deadlift analog, a clean, getting weights up to shoulder height from the ground, a snatch, getting weights overhead in a smooth movement, an overhead press, important because humans should be really good at standing up, a get up off of the ground. If you can't do that, you're kind of at a low level of fail, and your squat. If you focus on those 6 things and you have a basic ability to do all of them with one weight for long periods of time, you have built yourself an incredibly good foundation to build yourself a greater level of advanced athletics on top of. Many people in the modern world are not good at squat training because we sit in chairs. A lot of people have a hard time squatting below the height of a chair. Squatting all the way down to the ground, tailbone to grass, is a natural range of human movement for everybody of every age. When you lose your ability to squat down, tailbone to the ground, then you are likely to be in pain and you are basically starting the aging process. Fight aging, improve athleticism, improve your squat depth. Let's talk about 2 basic squats before we talk about the target drill of this video. The most important squat that people learn is the bottoms up goblet squat. 2 feet point straight ahead because that's the way we walk. Hips shoulder width apart, thumbs point towards the sky, thumbs point forward. Pick up the bell, arm at a 90-degree angle, which is called order position. Get down, elbows track inside the knees. You can lever against the weight to get your tailbone lower to the ground. Stand all the way up. Anytime you hold a weight in front of you and do a squat, your core tries to fire. We can improve on that by taking the weight from the middle of our body and putting it on one side. Arm straight, set the bell down, rotate the handle until it is perpendicular to the line of our body. Take a step back, 2 feet point straight ahead, feet shoulder width apart because that's the way we should normally stand. Thumb points towards the sky, thumb points down. The L of our hand goes to the corner, the L of the kettlebell. Push the weight back, perform a kettlebell clean. Rack position, knuckle, wrist bone, elbow in a vertical line. Do not barbell wrist it, no bent wrist. Make your arm vertical. Kettlebells allow you to line up all of your bones because they pivot around your body, whereas with a barbell, you have to move your body around the bar. 2 feet point straight ahead, get all the way down. Elbow goes to generally the same spot. Lean back against the weight. This squat is harder because the bell is closer to your body, so you have to already have good squat depth to get here. Stand all the way up at the top, straight legs, squeeze the glutes, drive the rib cage down. Anytime you're standing up under load, those 3 things should happen at the top so that people stand all the way up. Many people in general have slightly bent legs and a duck tail, and this causes them to not efficiently fire their core, and that causes them to have pain. Straight, strong, solid, every rep. Get all the way down, arm out to the side, stand all the way up. Straight, strong, solid, all the way down. Now let's add a mobility drill to this if people are having a hard time with this drill. Oftentimes, people will stick their tailbone up and they're not effectively doing the drill and they think that kettlebells aren't good. Elbow inside, get as low as you can, work on your mobility drills. Here, set the kettlebell all the way down in front of you, thumb points forward. Reach down with your other hand, grab the bell, lean back against it. Get your tailbone lower to the ground. Lever the weight up to our rack position, stand all the way up. Get down, lever the bell down, change hands. Grab with your other hand, L of your hand to the L of the kettlebell, lever the weight up, stand all the way up. Straight legs, strong glutes, solid core. Get down, lever the bell down, change hands, lever the bell up to rack, stand all the way up. Get down, touch the bell down, change hands, rack position, stand all the way up. Get down, lever down, change hands, lever up, stand all the way up. Put the bell down with good technique. Thumb points back, drift it out in front, stand all the way up. This is a simple drill. It drastically slows down the speed of your squats, but it forces people to pause at the bottom position. Getting better at the bottom of your squat improves the mobility of your lower back, it improves the mobility of your hips, and it's a normal human range of motion that everybody should be good at. Rack position squats are harder because there's less lever to lean back against, and you've taken all the weight from two hands, you've put it in one hand. This causes the core to fire way harder because now you're stabilizing in this roll of the spine, not just in pitch of the spine and hips. By moving the weight from center to one side, you're going to get more out of lighter weights. That's always the point. We can add complexity to basic drills with a kettlebell to get more out of those intermediate weights that are easy to travel and easy to take out into the world. By adding this pickup and set down at the bottom, we change the position of the weight in relation to our core and in relation to our hips. As we move the bell away, our body will lean back away from it. As we pick it up, our core will change position and our spine will change position. This is a simple way to do loaded mobility training. Adding this change of position to the bottom of your squat is a fast, easy way to help everybody improve their squat position, and that will generally improve everybody's quality of life. Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to talk about the kettlebell seated two-handed overhead press. This exercise is actually in the sit-up family of movements. We practice a bunch of core breakdowns of sit-ups to help people learn to fire their core in a bunch of different positions. This helps people learn to get up off of the ground better and faster. Getting up off of the ground is a key human skill and a key athletic skill. When people lose the ability to get up off of the ground quickly and easily, they essentially are in the aging process and going downhill. Maintaining your ability to get up off of the ground with weight is something that everybody should work on. Use your Turkish get up to get down to the ground. Step back with one leg, put your knee on the ground, find the ground with your hand, sit your hip through around the bell. Having your feet with your heels on the ground simulates the sit-up position, so that's the position we're going to be in. Thumbs point towards the sky, pick the kettlebell up, elbows towards hip. Once you pick up the kettlebell, your body will rock back about 45 degrees. Press all the way up, lock out both arms, bring the elbows back down to hip. Elbows start on hip, press to lock out, eyes on the bell, bring the elbows down to the hip. Press up, pull down, press up, pull down, press up, pull down. Your spine is staying generally flat the entire time, and you are moving the weight. Every time you move the weight, the demand on your core changes. Imagine lying back on an incline bench, but your core is the bench now instead of a bench supporting you. Your abs have to engage to do this exercise. Press to lock out, pull elbows to hip. When you set the bell down, rock forward, bell touches down, rock it away from you. Kettlebells are levers, short levers, from your hand to the top of the bell, about 7 or 8 inches. The heavier the kettlebell, the harder these exercises are. Turn your body into the bench and make your core fire by practicing all these breakdowns. People forget that sit-ups are part of get-ups. You don't need to just practice sit-ups, you need to break get-ups down into all of their component pieces, practice them separately, and then integrate those pieces back together so that you can get better at getting up off of the ground. If you lose the ability to get up off of the ground, you're kind of a low level of fail for humanity, so you should make sure you're practicing it in some way every day, with and without weight.